Hey, it's D-Rex of Pyromaniac.com here to give you the week in review for week 3 of the NFL regular season 2012. As we all know, the refs are back. The agreement's been signed. Roger Goodall has pie in his face. He didn't want to uphold the credibility of the game. He didn't want to pay a little bit of money now and then a bit more money later. And decided to be cheap and undermine the fact that these refs keep the credibility of the game, they keep the pace of the game going. They are just so much more important, and we all saw that in those first 3 weeks of games. Happy to have you back. I mean, Ed Hockley's become a folklore and a legend over the last 2 weeks and 3 weeks. Everyone missing those guns out there. Pretty crazy. That guy's literally now famous. And so he's going to make a lot of money for this whole lockout is going to make him one rich guy. And to be honest, I think everyone right now is really happy to have him back, and no one's loved refs more than they do right now. And the truth is, that'll all probably change in a matter of moments when you see a ref make a bad call against your team, or there's a 40-yard pass interference that brings your opposing team to the 1-yard line. You're probably going to be like, where are the scab refs? Let's get those guys back here. These guys suck. It'll happen, believe me. But just seeing a play like the one in the Washington game with RG3 coming down to the wire, and his last play of the game, or his second last play, it was 3 and 45 yards, third down and 45 yards to go. I mean, there was like 4 penalties right in a row, false start, holding, interference. It's just everything, and it just got really old, and the games were painful to watch. I mean, you saw, obviously, what made it all come to a head was the Tate play where it was obvious that Jennings made the interception, and he still got the touchdown. They didn't, then the night before that, I mean, that's what sparked the whole pandemonium. But the night before that, they didn't even review the field goal that the Ravens did against the Patriots, and then they didn't even review it, and it was a scoring play, and obviously that's why Belichick got fined $50,000 this week, because he went and grabbed a ref. It's like, hey, I got to review a scoring play, especially as the last play of the game in overtime, and they didn't do that. So anyway, I've talked about the refs enough. We're just psyched. There's going to be no asterisk on the NFL this season. The real refs are back. There's a couple games that were probably lost and a lot of $1 million in Vegas, as we mentioned the other night on the podcast. Which, if you're not watching that or listening to our podcast, you got it, because it's awesome. Our listenership on that is just skyrocketed. It's been awesome. So check that out. If you haven't checked out the Fantasy Football Fire Pyro podcast, do so. I think you'll really enjoy it. People seem to be really loving it, and we're really happy about that. But it's just awesome not to have an asterisk next to the league, and the fact that all these teams have. Couple have lost some games, couple have lost. Vegas lost the money. Anyway, let's stop talking about the refs. Welcome back, guys. It's been we missed you. Everyone, anybody that can say they love the NFL, that missed you. So Jamal Charles, wow, bounces back. Man, did he have a game? It's all of a sudden out of nowhere, Jamal just goes off for 33 carries, which is insane. 233 yards, which is insane, and 1 touchdown, which is nothing. You all right? It's my dog coughing. Pardon me. And but he had that 1 touchdown he had was 91 yards, and it was ridiculous. That was an awesome play. Jamal Charles, we were holding out hope on him. Me, probably less so than my partners, Dogmatic and Houdini. But I'm happy that he broke out for owners, and we got a couple emails and Twitter direct messages for people saying, wow, you guys were the only ones that were holding out for this guy, and amen to that. All right, we're having that's my washing machine, or no, my dishwasher being done. That's great. So we got dog coughing, we got dishwasher going off. Isn't anybody reading this on-air sign that I've got going? Yeah, right. There we go. So one of the things that really stood out to me this week was Mike Vick just getting crushed. This guy is wincing in pain, down almost, he's willing himself to get up off the ground and pick himself up. He's getting crushed. He's getting clobbered. He's not going to last the season. But even bigger than that, I think that this $100 million contract that they gave him, I think they gave it to him middle of last year. Maybe it was this offseason. But when I saw that, it's like, God, make the guy work for it a little bit harder. It might go down as one of the worst signings or extensions and contracts that's been given to a high-profile quarterback ever. I mean, the fact that he's the only player I think ever that's had two $100 million contracts in his life. Obviously, we know one of them, the one with Atlanta, got ixnayed pretty quickly after the whole dog scandal. But $100 million contract he's under right now, and he's just throwing interceptions out the wazoo. He just does not look. I don't know. I mean, I like Mike. I've given him a second chance. I want him to do well, but for fantasy owners, he can put up some points because he runs and he can score you some touchdowns. But I don't know. I mean, I think I'm targeting in a rookie league the Nick Foles guy, and he's a rookie. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time this year. If you've got Mike Vick in your team and you've got a deep bench, I mean, I would say pick that Nick Foles guy up. He could be good. The weaponry's there if they're healthy. They've been banged up all season. I don't know. See that team. I thought they were going to rally around Reed when his son passed away, and really show up. And maybe they will. Maybe they're just ironing out the kinks, and they'll be fine. But right now, the Eagles they're in trouble, as are a number of teams. But one thing I also watched in that game was this Daryl Washington guy, the linebacker number 58 on Arizona. Wow. That guy, I mean, I don't know the numbers on him. I didn't look at like what he ran in the 40 or anything at the combine, but that dude in pads in the field, he is the fastest linebacker I've ever seen. I mean, he can track down and tackle anyone. I'm blown away by how fast that guy is. He's a guy to watch on Arizona. 58, Daryl Washington, linebacker at TCU. Wow. I mean, that guy's a baller. Wow. I'm a Jordy Nelson owner, as you guys know. I'm fielding offers in my leagues. I mean, I think I've got them across the board in most leagues. And it's one of those things where, it's a bummer. He only had 3 targets versus the Seahawks. 3 friggin' targets. And he only has 19 targets on the whole season. When you think about another white receiver that didn't get drafted in the 3rd round like Jordy Nelson did, his name's Brian Hartline on Miami. He's got 30 targets this year. So he's got 11. He's literally got almost twice as many, just 4 short of twice as many targets as Jordy Nelson does. So I think they're going to make a point to get him the ball and make something happen with him this week. But I'm nervous as hell. I don't want to trade him because I took him for the high upside when he does have those explosion games. There's no one like him. But right now, it's nerve-wracking to think that I went so high on him. And he is super. I mean, he just hasn't done anything. I've seen him drop a lot of passes. There's been nothing good happening out of the Jordy Nelson side of the world at the moment. Anyway, play of the week from week 3. I think anyone would say this. That Nate Washington grab over the guy's back was unbelievable. He's got the uncanny ability to make these great catches, and I've always kind of underrated him. And he's not a great fantasy start. But sometimes he has these explosion games that he's always got to be a drafted guy. He's pretty talented dude, even back to his days when he was with the Steelers. Best picture I've seen around on the internet, or best thing I came across this week that's NFL related, was this picture. It was obviously like a studio shot of Vince Woolfork sitting down, looking over and certainly in a studio. And I'm looking, and he's got his tattoo, and I'm like, wow, it's like this writing, I was like, oh, what is a guy like Vince Woolfork, who I think's great player, but also quite funny. He's just he's a character. And I'm a Patriots fan, and he's just funny. He's huge, but he's fast as hell, athletic. Anyway, his tattoo in this picture is "Stop Hating." He's got a tattoo of the words on his bicep right here, and it's "Stop Hating." And Woolfork, he's got his blubber hanging out, and he's got that funny look on his face that you don't know whether he's trying to make you laugh or whether he's trying to make you take him seriously as some sort of bad dude. Anyway, try and track that down. I think I posted on Twitter. I'll put it up on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pyromaniac. I'll put that picture up there because I was cracking up, man. When I saw that Oh, God, that guy's such a piece of work. Good work, Vince Woolfork. All right, Roman Harper, guy on the Saints. The gray ass. I mean, I'm balding, but he's like as gray as you can go. And I mean, he's not an older guy, but he is great. But he's the biggest cheap shot artist I've ever seen. Whenever I watch, and I remember when I've thought this for years, a couple of years now, that he's always playing. I remember last year he was the guy that hit. He was the guy that hit Steve Smith late, and Steve Smith just bounced up, and they got in kind of a tough tussle. But he's that whole bounty gate thing that obviously now has kind of been proven to be somewhat BS. But this guy hits late. He's after the whistle. I feel the same way about a number of players in the league. Going back to a guy that I just heard today is going to be a first ballot nominee for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that's John Lynch. I always thought that he was a cheap shot artist too. Where again, he's a great player, but he would extend the play too far, and he guys down on the ground, got two guys on him, and then all of a sudden 2 seconds go by, and Lynch comes in and just annihilates the guy, and you're like, why didn't he get called? Well, we probably know the answer on that. Anyway, big hits. Talk about big hits. Go back to that Ravens game. Ed Reed, man, whoa. I mean, if you guys were watching that Sunday night game on NBC, that guy was blowing people up like crazy. I mean, wow, he is just a special raw talent, and like those hits, just devastating. God, what a badass that guy is. I hope he keeps playing. He keeps kind of like threatening he's gonna sit out. I think he just is trying to get himself a little more money, which I can't blame him for that. But what a badass that dude is. I'm shocked by him. But something to talk about. Back to targets and things like that. Aron Foster's got 90 looks. So looks is run, carries and catches, or targets to catch a ball and handoffs. He's got 90, which is a lot through 3 games. That means he's averaging 30 looks a game, where between his rush that he's getting that many opportunities. That's how you score points. So targeted on that, we just posted our piece for week 3 targets today, and it's one that we have done by one of our Pyro guys, Stag Party, and he does a great job on it, and the little write-ups. But we cover all the guys, and we're doing targets for the week. But then on top of that, we're also letting you know about overall season targets. And I've been talking about this in the podcast for ages, and on Pyro. I am a huge proponent of targets get you opportunities to score fantasy points. So look at our piece, and if you're thinking about targeting players, no pun intended, to go after and for trades, look and see who on your team is not living up to the targets. Again, it's only week 3. Things turn around. Back to the whole refs thing quickly is now that a lot of these weird situations that have happened with these guys, the top guys, the Brees, the Brady, these quarterbacks, Staffords, not putting up huge Aaron Rodgers, the huge numbers, it has a lot to do with these refs. I mean, these pass interference, these holding downfield, it's just giving a lot less field for these guys to score, and it's just you're getting a lot of plays that are within the 10 or within the 5-yard line because of pass interference in the end zone, so they're going to run it in instead of passing. Watch, when the new refs come back, and they're going to be rusty for a couple weeks, so it's not going to be perfect right out of the gates for these fellas and the Stripes, but you'll see some of these guys, these staple guys, are going to be right back to where they were because the game's being called in the right way, and there's not all this movement in the field that has nothing to do with a pass or a run. And actually, Houdini, let me mention this, is Houdini's piece for the week, his Houdinis Escape, is going to be on this subject matter of targeting, not hitting the panic button quite yet, and getting how these refs are going to be one of the pieces of the puzzle that are going to get these guys, these horses, these first rounders, and these top guys that haven't been producing, especially maybe at the quarterback position, will get back because the game's going to be called at its normal in its normal manner. So sorry to go back to the refs again, but I think that's important when we're talking about these looks and these touches and opportunities. I think will be changing a little bit here now that these guys are back. But anyway, we got Aron Foster, had those 90 looks. Next highest guy, Marshawn Lynch, as far as running backs go, at 75. So that really just shows you that Aron Foster's getting a lot more opportunities than any other running back, and we knew that because we always knew he was a great catcher out of the backfield and all that stuff. But that's pretty extensive. And when you look at it, he's got 70 looks. When you look at that, you've got the leaders for wide receivers in looks, and wide receivers obviously don't run the ball as much, I guess, except for Percy Harvin, who does a bit. But it's tied for the first spot is with Reggie Wayne and Percy Harvin with 40 looks on the season. So those are the guys that are getting the most opportunities in that sphere. And you got AJ Green and Dwayne Bowe up there pretty high. Dwayne's got 37 looks and AJ Green's got 35. Anyway, check out that targets piece. I think it's a good piece for you to come back and look at a weekly basis just to gauge guys even on your own team. It's not always about trading. We talk about trading a lot, and there just aren't that many fantasy football trades. In one of my leagues, there's a ton, but in other ones, in many others, there's almost none. Some leagues don't allow them, but I think go to that targets piece, and I think it's a good gauge of opportunities on the guys that are on your bench and on your fantasy teams, but guys that aren't underperforming. Look at that, and maybe you can balance like, wow, I should be starting this guy. He's getting more opportunities. Let's talk about some of the breakout guys for this week, which. We talked about Jamal Charles, which is awesome, but Larry Fitzgerald had himself a nice game, thank God. All of a sudden this week, Fitzgerald was able to score. How many targets did Fitz get here? Larry Fitzgerald, Jesus. Larry Fitzgerald with 9 targets. So he pops out, but he has nine. Larry Fitzgerald had 9 targets, 9 catches on those targets, 100%, 114 yards, and a nice touchdown. So welcome back, Larry. Looks like Cobb is going to be just fine. They're a great team. Their defense is very stout. So who would imagine that Cobb would be able to destroy Vick? The front office and Lurie and Andy Reid they're probably like, oh God, maybe we should have traded Mike Vick. Anyway. I think that's probably overstating it, but for how much Arizona gave up to get Kevin Cobb, I'm happy that it's paying off, and they're one of the few 3-0 teams in the league. McFadden had a nice game. He had that nice first run, but he broke out a bit again. Another guy that's getting a lot of targets, which is great. He's banged up every week. I don't know if he just doesn't like practicing, but I mean, the biggest worry with him is everyone knows, can he stay healthy? So hopefully he can. Mike Wallace had a nice game. Hopefully that'll be something that'll keep going forward. They've got no running attack, so it's all Ben Roethlisberger, Wallace, and Antonio Brown. We as we talked on the podcast the other day, Heath Miller is getting opportunities. Dalton came up and had a great game, and so did Matt Schaub. The guy that didn't have the great game, and he's obviously the subject of probably more posts that we're getting on Facebook from our audience on questions, is just Chris Brown. CJ0K is actually a great article that I read today from Klosterman on Grantland. He's he's a great writer, excellent writer, and he's like me, been doing fantasy football since 91, I think. I guess I've been doing it a few years longer than him, but huge fan of fantasy football, and he basically goes into how CJ2K has been just such a dud for owners, and it's just a good article. Some of the things, I saw Prince last night at the United Center here in Chicago, and pretty awesome show. He could have played a little longer, but when that guy's got the guitar in his hand, he's doing his thing and doing those yells and squeaks and whatever. I mean, chunky guitarist. I mean, there's no one better. Purple Rain, that album's insane. That song's insane. He started off with like a medley of Let's Go Crazy, Dearly Beloved, we are gathered here today to exercise this thing called life. And it was awesome. I forgot how much I love the song You Got the Look. I forgot. I mean, that song is unbelievable. Remember Sheena Easton, how hot she was, and Sheila E. as well, the drummer girl. But he played that stuff. I mean, Take Me With You, that is a classic love song. Wow. He didn't play Darling Nikki, which is kind of a bummer. And but it was a cool show. He had gotten some real bad press in his first 2 shows at the United Center, but I was happy, and I've actually seen Prince a handful of times. So, amen. Good to see that guy again. He's small as ever, but he's holding his age quite well. He's trying to be. He could be the next second coming of the Godfather of Soul, James Brown. So that was pretty awesome. But I'm not going to talk very much longer. This last week I went and I did like a 30-minute video, and that is totally not the point of this. The point of this is just to talk to you guys, get a little bit of a face and interaction going on some of the great stuff that's happened in the past week. I will write this piece up sometimes, but right now I think it's just I'm trying to get more into the videos and get that kind of content up. And yeah, I mean, I think that really will cover it. Amen to Torrey Smith, and while they eked that out, and to him losing his brother Tevin Smith. So that's a sad story. But right now, it's nothing but up. We expect a real pretty big week out of a number of guys that have been slumping. To go to give an example, I'll actually give you some forward-thinking stuff and not just do week in review last week. But we got a great piece up on the website, and we think it's our cornerstone piece, and that's the player rankings done by Dogmatica, my partner. And this week we've got the player rankings for the quarterbacks is up already. We'll have for the running backs and wide receivers will be up by today. But checking out that, we've got Tom Brady is ranked. He's ranked number 1 at quarterback this week, which, if you think about it, he's only 26 yards overall in throwing yards. He had 887. He's only 26 yards behind Flacco, who's the number 2 guy. It's not like he's so far behind in yards. He just hasn't gotten the touchdown. So Peyton Manning, number 2, going against Oakland, should be a pretty good opportunity for him. He's definitely our number 2 guy. And Rodgers going up against New Orleans. We know that's going to be a dogfight with a lot of points, but no question there. And then the flip side, you got Drew Brees is ranked at number 4 for the week going against Green Bay. We got Robert Griffin. God, that guy's awesome. So fun. The way that if you're just getting points off of running touchdowns, he's going to be just as good as Cam Newton. Maybe not just as good, but up there with the Cam Newton style scoring. He's certainly not going to have as many rushing touchdowns, but I think he'll have more passing touchdowns. We got Stafford at number 6, obviously, if he plays, but seems like he's going to be playing. We got Flacco at 7, going tonight. I didn't really even mention it much, but tonight we got Cleveland going against the Ravens. Should be a great game. Hopefully, it would be great if Cleveland could actually be moving the ball and doing it on a great defense like the Ravens. I think it could happen. Hopefully, we'll get a couple touchdowns out of Trent Richardson, and everyone on the team will be looking pretty good because I think everyone in the league and everyone around would love to see the Ravens or the Cleveland Browns come back to a place where they're actually serviceable. We got Matt Ryan at number 8. Obviously, he's the number 1 ranked or scoring quarterback in the fantasy through 3 games. But this week we've got against Carolina, who's got a pretty good pass defense and defense in general. Matt Ryan is ranked 8th. Eli Manning is going at 9. He's on Sunday night against Philadelphia, and Philadelphia's secondary has looked terrible. They look terrible. And then Vick is in at number 10. Anyway, I don't want to go through and talk too much about the rankings, but I do think you should go check out this piece because Dog does a write-up for all the guys, or the top guys, most of the guys, and I think it's really a helpful way of deciphering and deciding what quarterbacks you want to start over another one. Anyway, that's it. D-Rex here, week 3, week in review. Thanks for being a part of Pyromaniac.com and joining us on this journey. We love it. We really appreciate it, and we're working our butts off to get you guys win the crown. We want you to have. I'm flicking you off. We want you to have the ring. So keep following us. Keep listening to us. check out our podcast. Go to the website every day and check out our fantasy content, both advice and fantasy and stats and all that driven. And then on the flip side, we've got a lot of op-ed pieces that are more fun and interesting, talking about fantasy in the NFL, no question. But sometimes it's not all about the numbers; it's more about the heart and the story. Anyway, peace, guys. Appreciate it.